Hey guys, it's Main here. So Windwalker's out. So that means we kind of have to go over Windwalker and, acquisition, initial thoughts, early progression guide, stuff like that, to kind of get you off the ground running, and kind of, what early discussion about what we found and so on and so forth. So like in the Deathbringer video, let's go ahead and talk about how to first, obviously, acquire. I think Jedrid was really quick on making a video on a short on how to do this, but essentially, you do the same thing. You talk to Masterius. He'll give you an inner voice to follow. It's a little bit different from Deathbringer. Deathbringer, you had to kill, like 92 unique mobs or something like that. I'll put the footage over here of what I did what I did on stream to acquire it. But essentially, you would have to walk to the World 6 map, and then once you're in the World 6 map, you have to go to World 5. Walking, not teleporting. That's very important. There is text in the inner voice that says you can't teleport, so you have to physically walk from portal to portal, from baby trolls all the way to World 6, and then going from World 6 portal to World 5, World 5 to World 4, World 4 to World 3. Once you're transitioning from world to world, that's when things in the quest go a little bit different. You need to find the spirit reindeer. So essentially, it'll tell you like the reindeer doesn't appear in this world. It doesn't seem like it's in this world. And then when you find the world that it's in, it'll say something like, "Oh, the reindeer is in this world." And then from that point, you need to find what map the reindeer is in. So you would go map to map. You would not teleport. You would go map to map to figure out where that reindeer is. And the kicker is it's different for everyone. So I can't tell you where your reindeer is going to be. You unfortunately have to read and have to figure that out on your own because it is client-sided. There's nothing I can do to tell you where your reindeer is. So good luck. Have fun. I did have a little quirk, which I'm going to show you here. So when I entered World 2, which is where my reindeer was, I entered the left portal because someone in chat said, "Oh, go to the left portal. It's probably there." And then I went here, and I went to this portal, and then I went to the very end, and it said the reindeer is like nearby. It wasn't nearby. It wasn't here at all. Actually, it was in Sand Giants. So so if you're ever in World 2, just be cognizant that you need to check like every single portal. You will know that your map is the reindeer map because you will physically see a reindeer there. If you do not see a reindeer there, then it's the wrong map. There's also a voice cue or a cue from the inner voice. It'll tell you if the reindeer is in that map. It'll say something like, "Oh, the reindeer's here, very, very close nearby," something like that. I'll kind of overlay where I ended up, kind of what the reindeer looks like, so you can kind of look out for it. But essentially, that's it. And then once you kill the reindeer, you can teleport. You don't have to do it map by map anymore. You don't have to walk map by map. You can go back to Masterius, talk to him, and hey, you're a Windwalker now. So, as with the Deathbringer, let's go ahead and talk about the talent points. And we'll actually first, before I do that, let's talk about the talent points first. So first form is Tempest form. So first talent is Tempest form. So this is the essentially prestige system that the Beastmaster class now has, or the Windwalker rather. So just like Wraith form, you basically start over with basically 0 stats. You have very low damage, very low accuracy, very low defense, very low HP, very low everything. So you basically start over from scratch. And this time, it is actually from scratch. It is not like you have access to everything, and you just kind of TP wherever you want and just kind of farm like Deathbringer kind of was. It is a true restart. So when you enter Tempest form, you do not have access to any portals. You have to unlock the portals yourselves. So this is different from Deathbringer because Deathbringer did not have to unlock portals, and we'll get into how you unlock the portals in just a second, but just want to kind of bring you up to speed about that. It's essentially the V-Man speedrun, but longer form, lower cooldown, and it's how you progress this mechanic. So that's the first thing. And just like Wraith form, with Deathbringer, upgrading it will increase the amount of damage you get in that form. So upgrading it will just get you more damage. It's one of the ways you can scale damage in it. The second upgrade here is Compass. Like the Deathbringer, this is essentially the Windwalker's Grimoire. So the Compass will have either class-specific upgrades, or it will have account-wide bonuses, and we'll get into kind of what I recommend progression style in just a second once we cover all the talents. I'll also talk about talent point distribution, why I have things spec'd in different ways, and things to watch out for if you're playing on different platforms, because I understand there are bugs with depending on what platform you're playing on. So moving on to the third one, Spirit Ballista. This is essentially like axes from Deathbringer, but it's ballista form, which, by the way, ballista has been changed in this update. Ballista no longer has charges and no longer requires you to manually aim. Ballista actually auto targets, and it no longer has up to 3 shots. It just fires once. If you get this upgrade with Windwalker, it now shoots 3 total arrows. So if I click here and go to this map, you can see, there you go, Ballista now fires 3 arrows. That's because of this talent here. It also has a faster cooldown, and the other nice fun thing is that whenever I attack, it'll shoot a ballista. It randomly aims, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it'll just shoot wherever. I think it targets a random mob, but yeah, you essentially have no physical control over it. You just attack and it shoots, which I guess is nice. It pierces a lot. It'll follow the same, I guess, piercing logic of ballista. I don't think there's a lot of maps where you have up to 17 mobs in a straight line or in the trajectory of an arrow, so it's hard to see if it actually hits up to 17 mobs, but that, you know, I assume it is, since it kind of scales off the ballista initially. So yeah, it'll scale off the damage of the ballista, the cooldown goes faster, and you just shoot you shoot a little bit faster. It's a pretty good upgrade. Eternal Hunt, this is like Graveyard, similar to Graveyard. You put down this cross, and there's no targeting mechanic like the gravestone. So if you place it down, the reindeer will spawn anywhere in the map, so it does not matter the placement of this little like marker. This reindeer will spawn wherever, and yeah, there's no like manipulating the gravestone. It just spawns. Similar to the gravestone, stacking the number, or killing the amount of reindeer stacks the number above the, I guess I'm going to call it a gravestone because it kind of looks like a gravestone, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, it'll stack the number above it, and every number scales the dust percent you have, and dust is the mechanic, the compass type mechanic, the grimoire style mechanic of the Windwalker class. It'll increase it by 2%. So I believe it's a multiplicative increase. I don't quote me on that, but it does increase the amount of dust you get. So it is at least partially important going out killing reindeers, but I wouldn't say going out of your way to killing the reindeer is the most optimal strat. Completely going AFK is probably the best mechanic. The 5th upgrade here is Some Commandments. This is now a passive skill. So what this is, it increases, or rather increases the duration of Ururar. If you don't know, Ururar is the hunter ability, the respawn mechanic for classes, for the Windwalker. So activating this ability now lasts longer. I don't remember the breakpoint for this. I believe it's 150 plus for where it becomes 100% uptime. So that is like the first breakpoint you want. And the second one, we're still kind of bearing out if this is actually worthwhile or not. I'm getting the feeling this is not really worthwhile for this aspect of it, but doubling the summons of boars and nachos. So this ability right here, these shippies right here, I now summon 2 guaranteed, and the boars I now summon 2 as well. So let's talk about the downsides of this. I mean, it's nice having these mechanics kind of spit out more, but the cooldown isn't really decreased. It just doubles the summons, so you're still dealing with the longer cooldown of these abilities. As you saw, the chips also die in like 3 hits, so if they get hit by a mob, if they're placed on a mob platform, they will die. So it's basically almost a useless ability. There's still some utility to it, so I still recommend putting on your toolbar, but it's not the best. And then obviously the better part of this is it has a faster whale cooldown, which is Whale Wallop. So this one right here, your big targeting AoE ability. This is the best aspect, or the second best aspect of this. Obviously Ururar having 100% uptime is really, really good. So that means Beastmaster, or rather Windwalker, now has an active like respawn mechanic, and it actually works. It scales mob respawn essentially. So that's really nice. That's the really important aspect of this. The other aspect is the faster whale cooldown. I think personally, I'm probably going to reduce the amount of talent points I've invested into this probably down to probably down to like 200, or I can't remember the exact talent point breakthrough for where Ururar becomes a 100% uptime. I'm going to stop saying Ururar. I'm just going to say the respawn mechanic and reference the Hunter ability. Just know I'm talking about this ability. But essentially the cooldown is like roughly 110 seconds if you have the post office box upgrade, 48 times 4.78. You kind of get the idea. This lasts for 100 and something seconds, and you have more than enough uptime on this. So de-leveling this, I think, is fine. So you can redistribute the talent points into something better. Anyways, moving on to the sixth one, we have Windborn. Similar to Marauder style and Bulwark style, this is Tempest defense and accuracy per 100 compass upgrades total. So this isn't accuracy and damage, it's defense and accuracy, so pay attention to that. The second one is Elemental Mayhem. It's Tempest elemental damage and Tempest multi-shoot chance per 100 compass upgrades total. We'll get into elemental damage in just a second, but in my opinion, I currently don't think this is that good. Don't get me wrong. It's damage. However, the whole elemental damage mechanic, this early on, it's kind of hard to gauge whether how worth it is or not. I think in the end, it will be worth it. And I think you do want to have elemental weapons. Again, we'll talk about that in just a second. But for right now, I think I might de-spec out of this and put points into like Ballista or I don't know, something else. I might redistribute the talent points, but yeah. The next one on the row is Pump and Power. This one you definitely want to max along with Compass and in the Reindeer and probably Tempest form. This one gives you crit hit chance per breedability level across all your breeding pets. This got messed up. This got messed up for me. I used to have 300. Now I have 151. Anyways, this is buggy. So depending on the platform you're on, you may be able to spec points into this talent or not. If you're on mobile, from what I understand, is if you put points into this, your game will crash. So you just can't put points into this until that fix is addressed. It's been Lava talked about it on a stream. From what I understand, people on Reddit have been talking about this, and obviously on PC it's still bugged too, because on launch you'll probably see in the video kind of in the background talking about this, the breedability levels previously indicated I had like 300 plus and now I have only 151. So it's, yeah, I've also heard feedback from people playing on Steam and I think on Steam. I don't know anyone who's playing on web, but yeah, this is buggy. This talent right here in particular is buggy. However, that being said, I think you should still spec points into this because it is crit chance. And if you have the V-Man enhancement for Whale Wallop, which you absolutely should before considering playing this class, you should be able to scale breedability level relatively easily because every kill you get will scale the fence yard time for those pets. And by the way, there was a little bit of confusion on patch. If you go back to this enhancement and you compare to what the wiki says, there's a little bit of discrepancy in this description, but rest assured, it has been tested and confirmed that the fence yard speed for shiny pets and breedability is still a thing. It's just this tooltip for the enhancement is different from the wiki, so it's fine. Don't worry, this has always been there. People just forgot to read. It's completely fine. Breedability and shiny pets still work. If you don't know what I'm talking about, good. Don't worry. Get the V-Man enhancement. Your life will be so much easier in grinding out breedability and shiny pet levels, which is kind of a good, nice bonus of doing active Windwalker. Moving on, just like for Deathbringer, there's this base stat here. I would recommend putting at least 1 point into this. And then for the rest of these talents, again, I would recommend just putting at least 1 point into. So Shiny Medallions, monsters give more classy XP for all characters if you own their medallion. We'll talk about medallions in a second. It's a compass mechanic. Price recession, all ninja knowledge upgrades are X% cheaper per 10 total levels you have. Obviously, this isn't like a true 100% cost reduction. Otherwise, everything would cost 0. I think it's like cost over 1 plus X, and the X is like your percentage or whatever. I don't know the true math, but just know it's obviously I'm not everything costs 0 jade coin for me. Just this is a multiplicative reduction. It's not like additive or whatever the actual term is. So it's good. you still want this. It's good. The next one is additive sneaking EXP and also multiplicative EXP. It's just good for sneaking. It's a sneaking specific class. The next one adds 2 sneaking gemstones to find. It boosts all gemstone bonuses by 1.77. So if you're pushing sneaking, this is obviously a really good thing. And those 2 new gemstones, they are found on the later floors, and they give you respectively. Emerald gives you cheaper jade coin upgrades, so things will cost cheaper, and the next one gives you higher charm levels. So the next one is was like frost storm or something, I think is what it's called. I can't remember. However, I have to mention this. If you spec points into this, and for me, when I changed masteries, it deleted charms on the floors. So let me express what I'm talking about. So these characters on this Veil floor, if you're in Mastery 2, you will have unlocked both this Sneaking Eye charm as well as the Golden Sai. So the Golden Sai is a golden charm. This one, sorry, the Golden Star. This one gives you a higher charm level. You may notice it's no longer on the drop table. So this is a known bug on release. If you get this talent, it just deletes the ability for you to get this charm. So be cognizant of that if you're moving into Mastery 2. I truly don't know how to fix this. So if you have not gotten this gold charm yet and you're trying to push Mastery 2, you may not be able to get this, which does kind of hinder your progress when you are trying to progress Mastery. Similarly, it'll delete the other gold charm that's in this table right here with the Frost Storm gem that's right here in the little pillow guy. That is the gold envelope, which is jade coin gain per sneaking level. I can't underestimate how powerful of an upgrade that is that you would be missing if you don't have it already. And obviously you can't progress higher levels of that if you replaced it and you can't refarm it. So all in all, this talent has caused some bugs. This talent has caused some bugs. So we'll just be wary of these two in particular. Moving on, Dustwalker. This gives you coins dropped by mobs per power of 10 dust owned and collected for all characters. So this is just another coin boost. I don't know if this, okay, so it says multiplicative, obviously. Yeah, I can read here. So it's a multiplicative coin game. Good. Cool. The last talent here is for every abomination you kill, all characters will gain 1.01 class EXP. So killing abominations gives you multiplicative class EXP, and the amount scales depending on the talent level. So that's all the talents. There's a few obviously I glossed over because we need to talk about that more in depth. So let's talk about dust. Let's talk about the compass. Let's talk about medallions. Let's talk about elemental weapon damage and stuff like that. So let's start off with the base, I guess, mechanic of Windwalker. You may notice I have different weapons and I have different rings than you may be able to normally get in Idleon. So what are these? So there are different bows. So the whole mechanic of Windwalker is that you kill mobs, they drop dust, just like Deathbringer, right? If I kill a frog, boom, there you go. You see there's dust dropped right there. And then I can spend that dust in the compass. You put this in your toolbar. And by the way, you can scroll in and out just using your mouse wheel. Yeah, and you'll start off with this upgrade, which you need to buy. It's relatively cheap. It's like in the low digits of the tier 1 dust you see here. Basically, it allows you to push portals. So basically, you open portals by spending dust. You can open portals by using the dust drop by mobs. Simply hold down on a portal for 2 seconds. I do have some portals I can open, so I can show you guys to prep for this. So it's kind of cool, actually. The effects of Tempest form I actually like. I think it's pretty cool. I think the whole art style, you see the guy in the robe here. I didn't buy the pack because I'm still kind of boycotting Idleon in terms of paid packs, but yeah, this guy has the robe. It looks kind of cool. As far as I know, I think it gives you 2x class EXP multi. It gives you 75% drop rate and among other things. And so, yeah, you click and hold on the portal. You open it, it'll spend the dust that you have saved up, and you'll be able to open the portal. And here I am at the Mammoths map. That's it. Unfortunately, I planned on showing you guys an abomination, but I think I accidentally killed it. So yeah, it was just kind of unfortunate because it does man, it's okay. Actually, I have a snow baton I can show you here, I guess. So the HP scales relatively quickly for a lot of these, but these bosses are basically one-time kills. Once you kill them, they get added to your compass here as buffs. So you'll get one for Gmush, board beans, carrots, Giga Frogs, the Nutto in the tower defense map, not the regular Nutto's map. It's in the tower defense map. The roots, rats have one. Sandy pots have one. Crab cakes, sand castles, mashed potatoes, moon men. There's one in the Omar fishing area, so this third fishing arena. Snellbees have one, frost flakes have one, blokes have one, and obviously snowmen now have one. So those are where the early abominations are. There's a lot more per map, so you'll find them as you progress. But yeah, essentially the cost of everything just scales off of dust. So every abomination you kill, it'll cost some dust to upgrade, and each one gives you a different bonus. So the Gmush will give you damage, the board beans gives you accuracy, gives you move speed. We'll talk about that in just a second. You give you base defense, Tempest % damage, pixels of reach in Tempest mode, which I'm pretty sure is just attack range, crit chance, Windwalker talent points, more dust found, attack speed. We'll get to that in just a second as well, etc. So that's what the base abomination mechanic is. So these kind of progress on their own. You'll unlock these as you kill the abominations. They don't respawn. You can't re-kill them. You kill them once, you get their bonus, and there's a little banner that pops up on screen that says abomination slain, kind of like I guess like the banner would show up in GTA 5 when it says wasted. I don't know, or I guess Dark Souls when you die and it says you died. Anyways, whatever. So outside of the portal mechanic, outside of abominations, how do you actually progress the compass mechanic? So in the Grimoire, you progress it by just buying upgrades, and every upgrade, every like 100 upgrades or so, you unlock a new thing in the Grimoire. It's different in the compass. The compass is you spend the base dust to progress the compass. So you spend this dust and you unlock things in one of 4 paths. You have the elemental path, you have the fighter path, you have the nomadic path, and you have the survival path. Each one, I hope, is a little self-explanatory. The elemental path will give you more elemental upgrades. We'll talk about elemental upgrades in just a second. The fighter path will upgrade and give you more fighter type stats, so damage, crit damage, attack speed, etc. The nomadic path is your account bonuses. So if you want to push account bonuses, you would spend here. You get like Jade Coin, Sneaking Gain, Exalted Stamps. We'll talk about this in just a second as well. Critters per trap, a new atom, which actually I can go check and find out. More account damage, again, more sneaking EXP gain or stuff like that. And survival path is basically just your defense. You have base HP, base defense, move speed. Again, talking about that in just a second. Lots of dust upgrades, which is very nice compared to early game Deathbringer. And then just a bunch of other random stuff. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about elemental path. When you're starting off the Windwalker grind, elemental path is something you absolutely 100% need to push as soon as you can. If you have dust to upgrade elemental path, upgrade it. Let's talk about why. So first of all, the first upgrade or so you should see is either elemental vision or weapon drop. Elemental vision allows you to see the elemental weakness of abominations as well as mobs in the AFK info. So also, it'll indicate what your current elements type is. So, what is this? You may notice I have a few different weapons, and I have the main weapon that I use here. If I equip the main weapon that I've crafted outside of Tempest form from the anvil, it gives me no damage whatsoever. However, if I equip this weapon, you may notice I have a lot of damage. That is because the Windwalker's abilities scale off of this mode's specific weapons and rings. There's only weapons, there's only bows, and there's only rings. So those are the only like new armor types you need to worry about. So there's a few different bow types. There's a bow type for each of the 4 elements. So there is fire, there is wind, there is ice, and there is grass. As of right now, we don't have a confirmation of where a grass bow can drop, but we have obviously rings. We have some of the other bows, and obviously other types of rings. Like there's defense rings, there's crit damage rings, which I have here. And there's also a 4th type that's non-elemental but helps you progress the mechanic a little bit faster, which is dust. So these weapons allow you give you extra dust, and I have a lot of percent on here, and we'll talk about that as well. There's an upgrade in the elemental path which gives you upgrade stones. Whenever you kill a mob, you have an increased chance, or rather a chance of dropping an upgrade stone. So killing any mob in the game has the same drop rate. So literally killing any mob will give you the same drop rate of an upgrade stone. And there's 3 upgrade stones, and it's the same for rings and bows. There's a 10%, which is risky. It gives you a bunch of weapon power and whatever the misc bonus is of the item you are applying it to. It gives you 12 and 50% respectively, but it has a 10% success chance. The slots are used even if the upgrade fails. So again, risky, and that's true for all 3 of the stones. It's 10% chance for this to happen. You then have a 30% chance for it to happen. You have +5 weapon power and 15% misc bonus. And then the less risky one, less power, 3 weapon power and 10 misc bonus. So it's kind of up to you what stones you want. I would say just gamble it and go for either the 30% or even the 10%. I feel like it's probably just not worth your time throwing in the 60%, but still hold on to them because, why not? Maybe one day there's some use for it. I highly doubt it, but yeah. So while you're in Tempest form, the upgrades success chance isn't impacted by guild bonus. It is not impacted by the Gambit Cavern. It's not affected by anything. So you just kind of have to throw your stones at it. I guess since I'm talking about bugs, I've reported this as well, but the upgrade stone chance can be affected. However, since I suspect it's a bug, I will not be sharing it in this video, and I can't advocate you use that bug to progress the Windwalker mechanic because it's a bug. So I can't really advocate for that. But yeah, just know that there's so far within the first day of launch, we found there's several bugs with the mechanics. So that's kind of to be expected with a new class, with a new mechanic being introduced. There's obviously bugs with it. It's just a little unfortunate these happen to be more substantial bugs that happen to be impacting a lot of people. So just be mindful of that, kind of where we stand right now. Yeah. So let's talk about the mechanics of the Let's use some of the smaller upgrades so you guys can actually see how it works. So first of all, you see the ring here. This ring has fire elemental damage. So this innately this does nothing for your damage type as far as I know. If I were to equip this ring, it wouldn't give me any special damage bonus. Like I don't get a 1.2x damage multi for any mob. However, if the mob is weak to fire, then I will get that damage bonus. So if the mob is weak to fire, I'll get a 1.2x damage multi, which is pretty good, which makes me think that obviously you do want a set of rings if you're fighting abominations that are taking a long amount of time. However, if you're farming mobs and you're trying to use these rings, I wouldn't recommend using them because it's probably a better idea to farm a mob you can one-shot without these rings because there are dust percent rings and there's dust percent bows. So relying on the element may not be worth the time, but for pushing, maybe. I don't know. I can see the value of using these rings to push and using these rings to use abomination. So I don't want to say don't use these rings. And I also don't want to say just stick to dust percent because there's probably some middle ground where it's worth it. As of right now, I highly recommend you experiment. And I would recommend keeping a set of all the different elemental types and, just try and see if you're getting more dust percent on the mob you're fighting or not. So let's get into the upgrade mechanics. So unfortunately, this one doesn't really give any weapon percent. So let's try the 30%. So let's use the 30%. There's a 30% chance that it will up tier it'll give weapon power and increase misc bonus. And it succeeded. So now it has 1 weapon power and 29% fire elemental damage. So this ring is now giving me an additional weapon power. It has 2 more upgrade slots, and it's instead of a 1.2x multi, it's 1.29. So if I upgrade again, okay, those last 2 fail. I use 2 slots. Now this ring is kind of dead. I can't really upgrade it any further. So my incentive is to go out, farm another fire ring, and try to get a better one. So that's the base mechanic. That's essentially it. There's different rings. There's one for fire. There's one for wind. There's one for grass. There's one for ice. There's one for dust. There's one for defense, and there's one for crit damage. I think there are more, but off the top of my head, those are the main ones. Each mob has their own drop table. So each mob you will farm for a set amount of time. You'll try to get an upgrade and move on to your main farming spot. So let's see. Do I want to talk about that and move into that just yet? Kind of. Well, let's also talk about weapons, because that's where upgrading and stuff becomes a little annoying. So I have a few different weapons here. I want you to know, kind of off the bat, early on, we found that there is an immense amount of variability between the weapons you find on the same map. And there's immense amount of variability between the weapons you find on different maps. So what do I mean by that? If you find a bow on, say, the poop map, for example, it will have a relatively low amount of weapon power. However, that weapon power is going to be very variable. So the weapon power stat will change depending on your RNG. So when I was farming at Frosty Flakes, for example, I more often found bows that were hovering around the 25 weapon power. However, you could get lucky and find a bow that was 40 weapon power. You could find a bow that was up to 54 weapon power, I believe, at the base, at the Frost Flake map. So weapon power is extremely variable, and it is incredibly different for each mob that you're fighting. So just be wary when you drop a bow. It still may not be a good bow. You have to check the stats to see if it's actually good or not. That being said, weapon power is not the only variable stat on the bow. The other variable stat is speed. You may notice when you enter Tempest form, there are 2 things that immediately stand out to you. Number 1, your character is slow. If I exit Tempest form, you see I'm very fast. That is because your speed gets reset back to base 100%. You have to upgrade your movement speed through the compass, and like I think it's only the compass right now. Yeah, it's the compass survival upgrades, and I think there's Abomination, the carrot Abomination gives you some move speed. The good news is the 180% cap is the cap for like visual movement speed, as far as I remember, or maybe it's like 240. I don't remember. Somewhere around there is the visual cap for movement speed. So you'll hit it relatively early on in the grind, probably in like a week, if that. Anything, but early on you'll be moving very, very slow, and you kind of hate it for a little bit, but it's okay. Don't worry, it kind of scales out of that. It's completely fine. The second thing to talk about is your attack speed. With Deathbringer, obviously the cauliflower meal was like pretty important in scaling attack speed and such. However, if you notice here, I am attacking relatively slow. That's because attack speed also gets reset. So when you are in Windwalker form, just be wary. Your attack speed does get reset. There are ways to scale that with the compass. Obviously, there's increased attack speed upgrades you can get. They're somewhat costly, but as you scale Duskane, that becomes less costly. The other thing that impacts that is actually the speed of your weapon. So the speed that drops on the weapon is variable between 4 and 11. I want to say 80% of the time, this is not a hard statistic, it's just gut instinct. 80% of the time, the speed is going to drop as a 5. If you're unlucky, it'll drop as a 4. So you're starting off pretty good. There is a very rare chance you'll get an 11. I've gotten one 11 with several inventories worth of bows. So it can happen. It's just extremely rare. I have a 6 right now equipped with pretty high weapon power and a lot of dust because I dropped a pretty high stat and I got really lucky with the upgrade stone chance. Yeah, and the other stat that is variable is the misc bonus. So on all the weapons, their misc bonus is either tied to their element, or in the case of the dust bow, it's tied to extra dust percent. So this is 25% here, it's 18% here, it's 20% here, and I think it was 27% as a base on this bow. And the upgrade stone chance will just increase that bonus, whatever that misc bonus is. So for the dust bow, it's extra dust. For the fire bow, it's extra fire damage. For the wind bow, it's extra wind damage. And obviously, depending on the type of upgrade stone you get, the higher increase of the misc bonus you get. So if you are risky and willing to gamble, you can try and get a better bow by hitting a 5 out of 5 if you're extremely lucky. But that's 1 over, it's like a 1 over 10 to the power of 5 is essentially the risk that you're going for. So more likely than not, you're going to fail. And if you hit a 5 out of 5 somehow, all 15 of those failed for me somehow. Yeah, if you hit 5 out of 5, basically just go buy a lottery ticket. Also, I'm not advocating gambling. Please, if you have a gambling addiction, please consult the gambling hotline and speak with the relevant authorities, and take care of yourself. But that joke aside, it's extremely RNG gated between the drop you get, which is is kind of outweighed by the fact you can increase the drop rate, so that's less annoying. But you're also gated behind the upgrade stone chance. There is also an upgrade in the compass that reduces the upgrade stone chance failing or using a slot, so be mindful of that. But early game, when you're trying to push a weapon upgrade, using those max level stones, just kind of throwing your head against a wall is kind of the best way to progress. Because I don't know if you guys saw, but weapon power makes such a huge difference in damage. This is a 35 weapon power bow. Max damage is 16,913. If I equip this 83 weapon power bow, I have 175,000. So this is how I've been able to push so fast, and so fast, is by getting really lucky on a bow type and getting really lucky on an upgrade stone chance. This is almost impossible to do on day one, I would say, unless you had the same luck I did, or if you spent the AFK progression mechanic, which we'll talk about in just a second. So yeah, that's kind of the upgrade stone system, the element stone system. And I guess the other thing to kind of toss on is if you do have an elemental type weapon equipped, its damage does get scaled by this talent. It does get scaled by the compass elemental damage increases as well, of which I can't remember where they are. I think there's like one right here. Yeah, increase like elemental damage here, and this another somewhere in here in the fighter stance. Cool. Okay, so we had that out of the way. We had the base mechanics out of the way. Let's talk about just generally what the compass is, how to progress it. So take a swig of water here real quick. Okay, so what I highly recommend is obviously get a few levels first into fighter paths. So you have like the base like damage mechanics out of the way. You have base damage, you have a little bit of total damage, you have a little bit of crit chance, a little bit of accuracy, so you can push into maps into World 1. I would essentially kind of equalize between the three like main branches that help you progress the Tempest mechanic. Upgrade nomadic as you wish. If you want to bum rush some of the upgrades like the, I guess, printer power or stealth percent or sneaky exp or jade coin or base critters, new atom, go for it. But if you want to push nomadic, just push these three. You'll be completely fine without these upgrades for a little bit. You're fine. Definitely, obviously, try to get some HP, try to get some defense so your character doesn't die. Pushing these, the extra dust percent is obviously really, really important for helping you push and get obviously more dust to help you push the mechanic a little bit faster is going to be really important as well. Yeah, so that's survival path is where most of the dust percent stuff, most of the survivability stuff is. But the biggest one, and I talked about this earlier, the biggest one you need to progress is elemental path, because this is how you drop your weapons. So if you don't progress elemental path, you're going to be stuck in damage for a long time, because I'm pretty far progressed. I only have 3k damage without a bow. It is required you drop a bow. So in order to progress the mechanic at any meaningful rate, weapon drop. Number one, this drop rate for the bow is going to be extremely low for you at the start. I think it's roughly 1 in 1400. There's obviously ways to scale that, and we'll get to that as we talk about the upgrades. Next one obviously is the Tempest upgrade stones. You need those to upgrade your weapons, so definitely get it. There's drop chance for Tempest weapons, drop chance for Tempest rings. There's these medallions that drop. This drop chance is scary, but we'll get to that in just a second. We'll also talk about medallions in just a second as well. There's this one that increases your damage and accuracy per medallion you collect. There's this one for drop chance for medallions. This one ties your character's drop rate to Tempest drop rate. So this drop rate you see here partially scales into your character's drop rate for weapons, rings, and medallions. So if I upgrade this 1 in 388 you see here for the bow, this 1 in 42,000 you see here for the medallion will decrease to 1 in 31,000 for medallion, 1 in 291 for bow. So that's kind of how you scale drop rate. It's relatively easy. The cost here obviously looks a little bit scary, but it does start off relatively cheap, at least for the first upgrade. And obviously I have a lot of drop rate because I'm pretty end game. Even if you have like 20x drop rate, this is still going to give you pretty significant increase. Yeah. Yeah, and obviously I'm still progressing this mechanic. There's still a lot to kind of figure out and find out. So yeah, but for right now, my biggest recommendation that you should take out of that is definitely push Elemental Path. Elemental Path is really, really, really good. It opens up the whole compass style mechanic for you to explore and focus and help push the whole Windwalker mechanic. So this is required. So pushing this is required. Take note of that. Okay. I think that just about covers the compass and just general like upgrade path. Just kind of push the fighter path as you will. If you have dust for it, try to upgrade it. If you have some dust left over for survival path, honestly, if it gets into the millions of cost, I wouldn't really recommend doing it. Once you get like the first two upgrades for dust, I think it's completely fine. You won't see solar dust until you're into World 3. So if you're not pushing World 3, I just wouldn't touch this. But the first 2 dust upgrades are going to be really, really important for you to help you just, get more gains over time. Obviously, killing the abominations is going to help up to a certain point. Obviously, getting move speed, obviously getting some defense, some more damage here. Those are going to be really, really good for you. Okay. Let me get my bearings. I can't remember what else I want to talk into. Oh yes, medallions. So as we saw in the compass, there was a upgrade for medallions to give you both Tempest damage and accuracy. So obviously getting a medallion is going to be pretty important for you. Now, how do you actually, how do you keep track of the medallions? What else the medallions give you? So medallions will give you 2 things. One, that compass upgrade for the Tempest damage and accuracy. The other one will give you multiplicative class EXP for the monster you've gotten the medallion on. So if you've not gotten a medallion on a monster, you will not get the multiplicative EXP bonus. So this will become better later. Early game, not that much. I mean, who's going to want to use candies or class EXP farming on Gmush, right? It just doesn't make sense. So for all intents and purposes, getting a medallion on a monster just helps increase your Tempest damage and accuracy, so it helps you push a little bit. So by no means should you go out and forcefully farm it this early on, but as you progress, as you get more drop rate, as you get more upgrades into Elemental Path, as you get more upgrades into Medallion chance dropping, you just kind of want to get them as you progress. I don't think you want to go out of your way to farm it because you can scale damage in other ways. Like I mentioned, in your upgrading your talents, upgrading your compass, upgrading your weapons, and getting lucky with the upgrade stone chance is going to be better for you than trying to go out of your way to farm the medallions. Yes, eventually you do want to farm them, but honestly, for the first week of farming Windwalker, probably not. So that being said, how do you actually find out what monsters you have medallion on? It's simple. Go to the cards. The cards will tell you whether you have a medallion on them or not. I did an account review and went a little too hard on stream earlier today. So this card I do not have a medallion on because you don't see an icon for it. In the Giga Frogs, I do have a medallion for it. That's it. Simple as that. It'll be in the card section. Cool. That's about it. yeah. So that covers medallions. I'm going to go back to gear for a second and talk about, I guess, drops. So there are a few ways. There's 2 ways to get gear for to get the bows and to get the rings. So when you buy the upgrades in the compass for the bow and for the rings and obviously the medallion respectively, well, not the medallion, but the rings and the bow specifically, you will see, if you click on the AFK info, you will see the possible drops of the mob. It's as simple as that. If you're curious what mobs drop what, look to the AFK info. It'll tell you if it drops something. Unfortunately, if you hover over this, it doesn't tell you what the item is. Fighting Frosted Flakes, they drop 2 things. They drop a dust % bow and they drop a crit damage % ring. Just, kind of going off this, I kind of know just based off the look of it. Ooh, an 8 bow. I might keep this. Maybe. I need to get really lucky on the upgrade stone chance, which if these 3 bows are any indication, I will not get anything good. So yeah, whenever I fight these mobs, they will drop a bow, as you just saw there. And I'm obviously getting pretty lucky. Actually, I did get that recent upgrade where it scales off the HP of the monster. So, whatever. I might be getting lucky. I now have a thought, actually. But yeah, I might be getting lucky. I might not be. But the damage range is very variable. As you saw, I dropped to 37 here. I dropped to 40. And then I dropped to 35 here. So the damage range is variable. The speed is very variable. The dust % is very variable. But yeah, the AFK info is how you look, is what you look at to see what the monster drops. It also helps indicate to you what they're weak to. So if you're trying to push and you're trying to use a specific element against a mob to see how to scale your damage, there you go. It's weak to wind. So if I use a wind bow here, assuming I had the same weapon power, I would be getting more damage on these mobs. Cool. Okay. I don't even know why I locked those. Okay. So there are some mobs that don't drop anything. Why is that good? Well, as you can imagine, if I were to leave Frosted Flakes overnight, my inventory would start to fill with weapons and they would drop on the ground, causing lag, which means I would get desync. I would lose potential hours when farming it. So it's just not good. So you do not want to be on a map that drops items overnight, because I've been here for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and it's just already filling up with items. Every single mob I kill has a really low chance, and maybe this is just the problem of being an end gamer. I don't know. This is probably not going to be a problem for a lot of people who have really low drop rate, but be cognizant that if you stay overnight, it is entirely possible your inventory fills up. You drop like entire stacks of bows on the ground, and your game starts lagging, and you lose hours and hours of progress because of that. Similar to ES Portal. Or if you drop too many items on the ground, you might white screen, your game crashes and you lose all your progress. So yeah, just be cognizant of that. So if some of the best farming spots for being completely AFK are going to be maps where there's no drops. However, there's a little caveat here I do need to mention. The reindeer that you spawn from this gravestone also has a universal drop table. So it will drop any bow type and it will drop any ring type. So as you're killing the reindeer, there's a chance that it will drop a bow or it will drop a ring. Now, I do want to also say that we haven't confirmed this is the case, or if this is just a bug, or if this is universal across all the mobs, but it seems like from some anecdotal testing that it's the reindeer is the one that's dropping it. I haven't physically seen it drop from a reindeer, but I also know that during this entire video, I dropped a grass ring, and none of the mobs I've been farming drop grass rings. So there is at least that indication that it was probably a reindeer that dropped it, or it was just a random drop from a mob. I don't know. Either way, there's the potential that even if you're fighting on a no drop map, that it drops something. Very less so compared to the maps that actually drop something. Just, kind of be cognizant of that. So we got all the technical stuff out of the way. We got the basic introduction to the mechanic out of the way. Now, how do you progress the mechanic? So first of all, obviously, you'll only have the G-Mush map available to you. You want to kill G-Mush, kill the Abomination that's here, kind of move on. As is with Deathbringer, kind of move away from with Deathbringer, less so, because the Gravestone kind of limited where the placement of mobs were. You kind of still want to stay to very low condensed maps with not a lot of verticality on Windwalker. Those are typically the best maps so far. The reason that is because there's not a lot of giant consistent map AoE coverage with the Windwalker. You have the Whale Wallop talent, you have the chips, but again, the chips die. The Whale Wallop is on a 13-second cooldown, and the Ballista you can't aim. So there's not a whole lot of map coverage compared to the Deathbringer that has a giant map screen explosion with a horde monster death, or just with the talent, or with the axes flying up and down in arcs consistently upon auto attack versus the auto attack of the Beastmaster just throwing an arrow in one direction. So there's not a lot of verticality, not a lot of whole map clear. So smaller maps are better. So as is with Deathbringer, I found Board Beans to be a good little stopping point for a little bit. I found, honestly, I just kind of killed mobs in each of the maps for a little bit of time until I had enough dust to progress. I went up into Styx map. I had to get enough accuracy, obviously, to kill Styx, and just kind of AFKing at Styx was completely fine. I found Nuttos to be better. Me AFKing at Nuttos was equivalent to roughly about like 2 to 4 million of the T1 dust per hour, which is pretty good. And that got me into being able to get enough accuracy to kill Poops. Poops was the big break point for me in Windwalker farming, because the Poops drop the dust bow. So this is your big first break point for farming. Now, as you progress, there is, I need to find it myself because I can't remember which one does, but obviously Poops are weak to fire. So I farmed boas for a little bit to try to get a fire bow, and I found a fire bow, and this was actually the fire bow that I used, and I took this fire bow and I went and killed a bunch of Poops. It helps me get enough damage to be able to kill them because obviously they have a lot of HP. I had enough accuracy to kill them, so farming here for a little bit until I got a dust bow helped me immensely in my progress, because as you might expect, getting more dust helps get you more dust. So it was really good, and it really helped me push into World 2 and into World 3. Speaking of World 2, I didn't really find a whole lot of good maps here. I did find Sandcastles was pretty good because it fits the criteria of what makes Windwalker good, or at least for a farming spot. It's a relatively low map. There's not a lot of verticality. There's just these two platforms, and sometimes the Sandcastles spawn here and sometimes they'll spawn right here because of the Reindeer mechanic, which I neglected to mention. When you kill the Reindeer, it'll spawn a random pack around the map. Just FYI. Not a whole big deal. It's something to take note of, but it doesn't necessarily impact this too much. But I was able to bump up my bone gain here, or my dust gain here, by a couple million, which is pretty good. I farmed here for a little bit. I farmed in Nuttos for a little bit, just kind of compared the two. I farmed in Poops again to get the tier 2 dust to help me push in World 3, because these portals require the tier 2 dust, as you saw early in the video. So farming the tier 2 dust was pretty paramount and crucial for pushing the world. Now, when it comes to progression, my recommendation early is push the minimum amount of abominations necessary to get to the next world and continue pushing. So the abominations unlock the maps. Unlock worlds. So as you kill abominations, I just need 2 more abomination kills to unlock World 4. Once I unlock World 4, I can kill more abominations to unlock World 5, and so on and so forth for World 6. So that's how you progress the worlds. World 1, obviously really easy. You kill the G-Mush, you kill Board Beans, you kill Carrot. You only need 3 for World 1 to push into World 2, and then World 2, I think it's the same. I think it's either 3 or 4, and then 5 or so for the Frost map. And that's how you push into the maps. My recommendation is don't chase abominations. Chase upgrades. So we talked about this already, but the weapon power of bows not only scales off of obviously RNG chance of drops, but it also scales off the mob's HP, or rather their their progression in just the general world progression. So if you fight a mob in World 3, you're going to get a higher chance of bigger weapon power compared to a mob that drops a bow in World 1. So if you're trying to farm a bow, try to farm as high a mob as you can in as high a world you can. And weapon power is almost entirely where all of your damage scales from. So you want to push higher bows wherever you can. So for that reason, my recommendation is do not push abominations, push monsters, push as high monsters as you can kill, and try to get bows from them, and try to find an upgrade to progress damage. And that's how you push into World 3 this quickly. That's how you push into World 4 and World 5 eventually. The goal is to try to get dust rings. The first source of that is going to be in Neptune, so the very last map of World 3. Well, excluding Deditator Rams and Bloodbones. Neptunes will give you the dust rings. So farming that for a little bit to get you some dust percent is going to be pretty important for you. But before then, I do recommend crit damage rings. You don't have a lot of crit chance starting off, so getting crit damage rings is a really easy way to scale that, and obviously is just a multiplier to your damage. So yeah. That's kind of what I recommend for progression. When you get past sand castles, when you get past poops, my recommendation for mobs for a little bit of time is going to be frost flakes for the tier 2 dust, and for blokes as well is going to be another progression, I believe, for the tier 2 dust. And then mammoths are going to be for tier 3 dust for stardust. These will help you scale the dust percent per power of 10 stardust. You don't get a lot of stardust for killing mammoths. I think in the cards they actually drop 0, so you get a very low amount. So I wouldn't stay in mammoths for very long. I would stay here for a little bit of time. But the good news is they do drop the dust percent bow. So if you do want to farm here for a little bit of time and try to get an upgrade, you are more than welcome to. But I wouldn't spend too much time. I'd maybe get 20k stardust and dip because it's really slow, as you can see, and the scaling here is relatively bad. Like it's in the millions of the tier of the moonfall dust for upgrading this, so you don't get a whole lot of dust percent. So I'd stay here for a limited amount of time, and then I'd probably farm blokes is for the tier 2, and then Sir Stashes is absolutely fantastic. AFKing here for a long period of time, I think it was getting roughly 10 to 20 million an hour in the tier 2 dust. Like I just killed these guys and they're dropping like 5 mil already per hour. So it's really good. This is good for tier 1. This is good for tier 2. This is okay. This is okay for tier 2. This is okay for tier 3. And then where I would go after this is just stick to the same logic. World 3 maps have the benefit of being pretty condensed and pretty compact for the purposes of bone percent. So this will help a ton when it comes to progression. So don't be too fearful of the World 3 maps. Don't be fearful of progression. Just because there's no immediate guide right now doesn't mean you can't also try yourself. My biggest recommendation is just look at your AFK info and see if you're beating the map before. If you are not beating 10 million dust per hour on Sir Stashes, as I imagine some people probably are at right now, then go back to Sir Stashes and farm it for a little bit and upgrade the compass. Get some more damage, get some more accuracy, get some more weapon damage scaling, upgrade elemental form, that kind of stuff to help you. And then, move on to the next tier 2 dust, move on to the next map and try to push into world 4 and see how that goes. So I hope as we learn more about the mechanic, I hope as we learn more about dust sources, how to scale dust percent, how to farm it to get better results, I'll have a more updated guide, but I just want to kind of go over preliminarily all the information I have for you guys at this point. Hopefully this wasn't too much of a brain dump, but this is a lot more complex and a lot more in-depth than Deathbringer was. Deathbringer was literally just Axe Gober and Combustion Gober, and that's literally it, versus you have weapon systems and drop rate and rings and upgrade stone chance and different bone types and different bone percent and different nomadic paths and stuff to focus on, and obviously a lot of bugs kind of contradicting what people should be farming right now. So I apologize if it was a little bit all over the place, but again, this is just very preliminarily how to unlock Windwalker, very early game progression, and obviously just a little bit of call out for that. last thing I do want to touch on, since I haven't already, obviously in the gem shop, if you haven't bought it, the extra dust % multiplier for the Windwalker hood, I would recommend getting this. And oh man, okay, this is also another topic that man, I was a little upset when I saw this. So the patch notes said that AFK bones for Deathbringer were pushed back, but we had this implemented. We had essentially time candy for Windwalker introduced. These give you 2 hours of Windwalker progression. So this scales off your AFK info, and I've heard from other people this is also bugged. So this may or may not work for you. I can't confirm that, but I've heard from one person that they didn't get any bones, and they confirmed that they had bones in their dust in their AFK info, and they had like actual damage on the mobs, and I guess all the factors you would normally consider, and it just didn't work for them. So be cautious. I personally have not used these yet. Like you saw my inventory. I bought these 2 free ones. I didn't buy any on the first day, and so on. The other thing I did kind of gloss over in the compass are these exalted stamps. Exalted stamps are basically stamp multipliers. So it's like summoning doublers essentially. So you pick a stamp, you double it. My recommendation is probably crystalline stamp number 1, because the crystal shrine got nerfed. Because of the crystal stamp doubler. It's circuitous logic, I don't know. So double the crystalline stamp so you have more crystal spawn chance, and then multi-tool stamp obviously is just really, really good for base skill efficiency. Those ones you get in the compass, you progress the compass mechanic, you get them basically for free. So for that reason, that is number 1 reason why I would not buy these in the gem shop. The second reason I would not buy these in the gem shop is that buying these in the gem shop scale the cost of the exalted stamps in the compass. So I've only bought 2 of these, and it's a 1 mil dust cost. If you buy them in the gem shop, they act as if you upgraded these in the compass, meaning the dust cost will scale. So if you did not buy these in the compass first, they will cost millions and tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dust for your first exalted stamp from the compass. Be mindful of that. So I know people have essentially kind of soft locked themselves out of not really progressing the compass, but being able to afford these upgrades in the compass. Just be mindful of that. Yeah. Okay. Those are the last thoughts, I guess, I kind of wanted to talk about. I guess the other thing that's worth mentioning is that there are new Pristine Charms in sneaking. So if you go down here, I did buy 2 of them with gems. I did get free to play. I didn't purchase any. I didn't spend money. But they have, there's 5 total. There's 1 for Deathbringer Bones. There's 1 for Dust Gain for Windwalker. There's 1 for the 3rd Masterclass, which currently isn't implemented, so it's a future placeholder Pristine Charm. There's 1 for Multiplier to Villagery EXP. There's another for Exalted Stamp bonus. So instead of it giving a 2x bonus, it'll give it a 2.2x. And if you push the compass, there is a further increase to Exalted Stamp increase. And there's also an add-on for it, I believe. So there's ways to scale Exalted Stamp bonus and such. So be mindful of that as well. I guess I'm almost certain I covered everything that's important in this update. I believe I mentioned the crystal shrine got nerfed. So if you farm shrine levels, the crystal shrine that gives both crystal and giant spawn chance got nerfed. It previously gave 10% increased chance to find those respective enemies per level, and instead is giving 7.5%. So giant spawn chance got nerfed outright. There's no way to increase that. It's gone forever. Versus crystal spawn chance has a little bit of buffer to where you can get the crystalline stamp doubled and potentially more than doubled with the exalted stamp bonus. So, whew. This video has been an hour. I thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video, and stay tuned as well for future updates about this. Obviously, we want to know more about more dust gain. So if you are wanting to know more up-to-date information before the next video comes out, please join the Discord. Our wonderful Crit has been working on guides and such for you guys to follow, as well as talent point progression, the drop rate sources for the bows and rings and all of that. So shout out to him, and I'll see you guys in the next video as well. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Hey there guys, it's Main here. I just wanted to say deeply thank you to everyone who does support me over on YouTube and or Twitch. It really does help motivate me to continue making more videos. If you would like to become a channel member just starting at $1 a month, please check the description below. Have a great day.